I asked Josh to come and speak today, and we just appreciate you being here. His wife is not here today. She heard he was going to be preaching, and so she... you want to use this?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. She's at a friend's wedding. Her friend's wedding. So, yeah. I didn't really want to go. Dear God, I give you thanks for the chance of, one, just hearing from you, God, and actually realizing that you still do speak and that you are so passionate about us, God. And I ask that you help me convey, Lord, what you've been talking to me about. In your precious name, Lord, I give you thanks. Amen. So, it's been a year since I just recently got married, and it has been a very eventful year. It's different. You hear about marriage and all these jokes and stuff. I think there's probably more jokes about relationships than anything else out there. Then you realize, whoa, there's a lot of truth to those jokes. Oh boy. And God's been using this to teach me about relationship. And there's just so much to it. You can't just, I guess, encompass it in one word. Just what exactly does it mean? But then, yeah, it has this profound meaning that I'm now looking, as I read through the Bible and I read, new, or things that I've read before, even memorized before, I'm like, whoa, I never noticed that, or I never noticed this. I'm like, that makes sense now. And one thing that struck me was just that I never stopped to think at the fact that I was actually in a relationship with God. Like if I told you right now that you are in a relationship with God, would that, if you just think about that, I'm in a relationship with God, that actually kind of hit me like, whoa, wait a second. I didn't know I was in that relationship. You ever been in that situation? Funny story. My wife's not here, so I'm going to tell it. But so years ago, there was this mission trip that was going on, and I was interested in this one girl, and I was talking to her, and it turns out that there was some other girl that was also interested, but she went around, I guess, telling a lot of her friends and stuff that her and I were really close, and that, she was even talking about the colors of the napkins in the wedding and stuff, and she's like, hey, did you know about her? She's all talking like you guys are getting married, and I was like, what? It struck me. I was like, hey, I'm not in a relationship with that person. I'm not sure what is going on over there. But I was kind of struck. And then as I was thinking about that, I was like, hey, you're in a relationship with God. It kind of struck me like, whoa, wait a second. What's going on here? And then I realized, wow, I think oftentimes my relationship with God is very one-sided. And it's all like God pouring a lot into me. It became more clear once, you get home from work, you're tired, whatever. You come home and you just kind of want to zone out as a guy. You get home, you want to zone out, and your wife's like, oh, you're home, give me a hug. And I'm like, didn't I just hug you in the morning? Okay, here's a hug. It's just a long hug, and then she gives you kisses, and I'll give you kisses. Like, all right, I'll give you some kisses, and you're still hugging, and it's like, well, I know we're married, but this is past the awkward point of still hugging. I guess you want this. All right, let's hug some more. Just hold her there for a bit. So, is there any food or something? Yeah, I guess I'll sweet. So I come over to the living room and get some food. I'm thinking sometimes I'm checking my phone, trying to get some new information or, work stuff going on still in the brain. And she wants to talk. She wants me to listen to her. So she's like, can you put that down? Where you just got home now. You got out from work. Can you listen to me? And all right, I'm listening. But she doesn't just want me to listen. She wants me to talk back. It's one thing, I thought I had mastered the whole technique of, yeah. And then, you hear those voice inflection changes on certain sentences or word. And then you learn to repeat that sentence or word in the form of a question. she was mad, huh? And then that conversation just keeps going, but you're totally zoned out. You learn those cues and you're like, oh, okay, let's engage again in this. And you keep going. But when you're asked to talk back, it's different. Suddenly you have to like pay attention to what was just going on and like, okay, what do you want me to tell you? You want me to tell you my favorite part of the day? Who has one of those? Come on. Or my least favorite part of the day? Okay. I don't know. Let me think about it. I can't even remember what I did 5 minutes ago. I was sitting here with you, babe. So I realize there's like quite a bit that goes into like a relationship, being in a relationship. All the women here are laughing and giving me these looks. Huh. I get it. So as I'm reading my word, I'm realizing, man, God really wants a lot of my attention. He doesn't just want me to sit there, go to church, and like, okay, yeah. You want what again? He actually wants to engage with me, and like, he wants me to talk to him and tell him what's going on or what I'm worried about or what I'm stressed about. And what's funny, he doesn't just want to know that because he wants to know it, because he wants to do stuff about it, and he wants to engage with me and us. And even poor babe, I'm not so I thought I was good at communicating. Turns out I'm not. Sometimes I'd go to the restroom and hide, and I realized I wasn't doing this till she'd come knocking. She's like, Josh, it's been 45 minutes. Are you almost done in there? What? How are you? Who keeps track of when I got into the restroom? All right, yeah, I'm coming out, I guess. Back into the... yeah, it didn't sound this funny when I was... Yeah. So, but God does this with me. He's like, hey, Josh, it's been a while since we've talked. You're going to come back here and we're going to hang out or something? And so through reading God's word and just looking at things and having new things pop out at me, I was convicted actually about this thing called the Sabbath. I was convicted to rest. And then I started noticing a lot of things that God did initially that it looks totally different from my newlywed perspective. You see, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And then, he made all the animals, and he made all the birds and the bees and the plants and all the fish and whatnot. So, and then he made man, and then come the seventh day, and everybody knows what God did on the seventh day, right? Because we all like to do this. Rest. He rested. But what was unique, and I didn't catch this till later, recently. He said he rested from all his work, and he sanctified that day. And I was like, he sanctified a day. He sanctified a day. It didn't make sense to me quite. It caught my attention, but it didn't click. You ever had one of those? Especially with your wife, like something catches your attention, but you're like, I'm not sure where this clicks. All right. Why are you crying again? And so he sanctified this day, and I'm thinking, what? Why didn't you sanctify like man and woman or marriage, or why don't you sanctify like the Mount of Zion or something holy where we're supposed to go and congregate and whatever? And then it dawned on me, he sanctified the Sabbath. He sanctified the Sabbath. You ever had, a friend or someone you haven't seen in a long time, like, hey, dude, you haven't seen this person in years, you want to catch up, hey, let's hang out like Saturday or Friday, let's hang out at 5 over at such and such coffee shop or restaurant. Yeah, dude, I'll be there. And then you go over there, you're waiting for them, you're excited to meet with them and hang out. And then 15 minutes goes by, 30 minutes go by, and you're like, what is going on? You text them, you call them, they don't respond, and you're thinking, well, I thought we were close. I thought we were friends. And then you go home or whatever, and kind of embarrassing scene. Next week you see him again, and it's like as if nothing really happened. It's like, hey, well, you want to meet up again? Let's hang out this time or do something. Sure, same thing. And same thing, same place, all over again. They don't really give you a reason why they weren't there, why they didn't show up. But you're like, okay, well, let's go hang out again. Let's catch up and whatever. and your friend doesn't show up again. At this point, you're probably wondering, is there something wrong with me or what? But you know what? I realize that we do that with God, or at least I do that with God every single week. You know, he made this, and he weaved into the very fiber of creation this thing called a Sabbath, a day of rest. And it's like his hangout day. He made it actually something that our bodies need. It's been medically proven. If you fast once a week, if you just let your body rest, you don't work, you heal up better, you recuperate faster. If you sleep, you know, your mind recuperates and whatnot. Our biology is designed in such a way where you need to have rest. And God designed it and sanctified that into creation itself. And it's the first thing he sanctified. Because he wants us to have rest. And it's a very particular kind of rest. And I realize it's kind of like a hangout time for God. Like he wants us to actually hang out with him. But how do you hang out with somebody? I mean, it's not like God comes into my living room or knocks on my restroom door and is like, hey, you going to come out? So, okay, how do I do this with God? How do I hang out? How do I commune with God? And then God brought me to this other issue of, so as I'm struggling with this thought, God brings me this other thing of idolatry. And I'm thinking, I mean, how does this, I thought we were looking at like hanging out. Now you want to talk about idolatry. So let's go to Genesis chapter 2, where he gives the 10 Commandments. I think it's where first times he talks about this and delineates it clearly. He says, oh, wait, no, this is not Genesis. This is Exodus chapter 20. And you don't have to look it up. I'll go ahead and read it in English. Then God spoke all these words, saying, I have like the two translations here. Yeah. He says, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the of any likeness, or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or the earth beneath, or under the water. On the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. And then it dawned on me, a jealous God. You see, when my wife wants me to talk to her and put my phone down or computer down or get out of the restroom, she's kind of jealous for my time and my attention. She doesn't just want all my time. She wants all my quality time. And I look at this and suddenly I see three different phases of God here. He's talking to his people. He wants to make this covenant and arrange this huge relationship with mankind. And he's going to do it through these people. He's going to establish a personal relationship with a nation. And it really reflects on us personally, too. But I want us to look at these three kind of phases. God says, I am the Lord your God. So he comes out and establishes a ranking, kind of like a rank. I am God, you're not God. I want you to understand that first. I am the Lord, you're not. And then he goes on to kind of, relay the importance of why we should consider him as God. He says, I am the God that brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of slavery. So in other words, I'm not just God. I did something for you, and I did something significant. You see, here's a Jewish nation that, well, like any nation, they like to think there's something special, right? Every nation has that. I mean, you go to any country, every country thinks it's special, not just America. And you know what? He lays it to them this way. He's like, I brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. In other words, it's kind of like saying, you know what? I had to rescue you, and it was so bad that everyone else around you made you into their slave. You ever felt like that? Like you're just working, you're not sure if you're getting ahead, or if you're just, doing the rat race, and you're like, what? I mean, is there anything else to life than just this? And God's like, you know what? I took you out from that. I've given you a purpose. I took you out of Egypt. You're not a slave anymore because of me. And this is where he starts delineating what he wants in this relationship. So he sets out this line, I'm God, you're not. This is what I did for you. This is what I'd like you to do for me. He only says, you shall have no other gods before me. All right, so what exactly is a god? And he goes on and he kind of makes things like dumbed down, simple. He says, you shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or earth beneath, or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them. And here's, I think, what's the most qualifying statement of this whole thing of what would make an idol. For I am the Lord your God. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. So if it makes God jealous, it's an idol. And then I look at like my newlywed relationship. There's a lot of things that make my wife want to like, hey, I find myself competing for your attention here. You know, I shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, how often do I do that to God? I put him in a situation where he has to compete for my attention or get my attention instead of me freely going out there and giving it to him or searching after him. And it's not like it has to be this kind of tedious thing where I have to climb a mountain and prepare this sacrifice. I'm like, God, I'm here to talk to you now. No, it's just every day, like just opening up to him, talking or taking God into consideration or just reading his word and thinking, whoa, what was God thinking when he did this or when he did that? I've actually started doing that a lot in the last few years, and it is so intriguing because I realize that God's not the person who I thought he was. And it's just like, whoa. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I never talked to him before, really studied his word that in depth, but when you start looking at it, you're like, whoa, who is this guy? Like, who is this person? He does all these crazy things. And then, so he starts off by saying, I am Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. As a matter of fact, I'm a pretty jealous God. That's the kind of relationship we now have. I'm jealous for your attention. You have something else that you give a more attention to or a sweeter attention to than you do to me. I'm jealous. And it's kind of funny because anywhere else in the Bible that you read about jealousy, it's always attributed as a negative attribute. It's never seen as a virtue. But then here God says, I'm jealous. And I guess I'm God, so it's okay. He doesn't say that, but it kind of feels that way. And he goes on and tells you, you're not going to worship anything else. As a matter of fact, this is jealousy. He says, I visit the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. And so this is the 10 Commandments. This is the first kind of like rules he's given out to this nation, to these people. So he just tells them, basically just kind of broke him down to the first law. Like, I'm God. These are all the things I don't want you to do. As a matter of fact, if you make me do this, get jealous, I'm going to get kind of upset. And if you catch me on a bad mood or if you want to hate me, then we'll go at it. But if you want to love me, hey, we'll have it good, okay? And so then he goes, and it's just another quick little commandment. I guess just kind of switch the mood a little bit. He goes, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave him unpunished who takes his name in vain. And then he goes on to the Sabbath. So he talks about who he is, what kind of relationship he wants, and now he's talking about the Sabbath, the day of rest, and what he wants from it. He says, 6 days, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Holy. You set apart, different. It can't be like everything else. It has to be different. This cannot be like everything else. It has to be holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord. That's my day, he's saying. Your God. In it you shall not work, you, your son, your daughter, your male or female servant, or your cattle, or your sojourner who stays with you, the foreigner. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that in them is, and the seventh day he rested. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. So he goes on to establish a relationship, letting you know what an idol is, and then he says, hey, don't forget, I really take this day seriously. I want you to rest on that day. And I want you to realize that it's my day. So I'm thinking, okay, God, what do you want? So I just hang out, watch movies, have some dinner. I don't know, just hang out, do nothing. And then God showed me Ezekiel 19, chapter 20, verse 12. He goes, and this is where he gets more into detail about the Sabbath. And this is where it like dawned on me. My wife and I now do this every week. Verse 12, it says, so he's mad. He's talking to, he's dealing with Israel. He's mad at Israel because they haven't followed him. They haven't done all these things. So now he's telling them, this is what I have against you. So he goes on through this whole list. And then on 12, he says, also, I gave them my Sabbath to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord who sanctifies them. Now, the word sanctify, it means to be set apart. One way you could look at this is kind of like sports. You have, let's say, a high school football team. Those that excel, that have the most talent, that put the most effort into it, if they really try hard, if they push for it, they might make it and play in a football league in college. So, okay, they move up one level. They've now been sanctified. They've gone from high school now to football. They made the cut. Now, if they keep working really hard and just keep training and pushing their bodies and just really mentally exerting themselves and setting themselves apart, that whole process is called, it's a type of sanctification. They might make it to the NFL. They might. I know they might play bench, they might play first string or whatnot. But this whole process now of setting themselves apart with their diet, with their workout routine, with the way they think, with what they study and how they start polishing their bodies to react and to do and to have certain amount of strength and certain areas, that's a sanctification process. They improve, they set themselves apart, and now they're moved on to the next level. They keep working at that level, they improve, they set themselves apart, and they move on to the next level. And that's what God does with us. The only deal is that we don't have to work out and do all these things because Christ already did that for us. So God's just like, hey, I did all the work for you. Just hey, set some time apart and come to me, would you? He dumps it down that much. God has sanctified us. He's cleared us. He wants us for him. So when I read this verse 12, it dawned on me. I gave them my Sabbath to be a sign. So the Sabbath is a sign between me and God, that I would know that it's God who sanctifies me. So this convicted me, and now Ann and I, we have this routine where once a week, if it's not Sunday, we try to pick another day where we just relax. And this is tough because you have to put other people aside, or whether you're boss or family or friends, and just be like, hey, I'm sorry. It's just this day is not gonna work out for anything else. It's just, this is what I'm doing with my day. You can either make God jealous or you can make the world jealous. One really cares, the other one doesn't. And now we take that day and we relax. We have a good family. We might hang out with our family or just ourselves, but there's something that we do on that day, and that is just sit down and actually talk about what God has done to sanctify us. And it sounds simple, but I had to think about it because it was like, okay, what has God done to set me apart? What processes? He already died and took all my sins and everything on the cross for me. But what's he doing to make me improve? And then I realized I am bearing Christ's cross, in that God's just like, you know what? You have this little problem with your character I'm working on. I need you to listen to me some more. And God's like, I've been using these mediums to help you improve on these skills. Or you need to trust me more with this or with that. And there's things in life that if we stop one day and think about it, we could say, wow, God is doing this in my life here. He's doing that in my life there. Or it might not even be that he's training you or working you out, so to speak, but it just could be that he gave you a lot of favor. He gave you a nice job. He healed you. Maybe, I don't know, he fixed a relationship for you, or just one of those like miracles or stuff that doesn't happen all the time, where God just, boom, shows you some favor, gives you a blessing. So we take that time now once a week to say, you know what? well, God's been doing this in my life, and he did that miracle in my life, or he's putting me through this trial, and I become aware of what God's doing in my life, and then suddenly I realize, whoa, God is doing a ton of stuff for me. I can go into a few stories, but it's also with my wife, and then I'm looking at what God's doing in our lives, and I'm like, whoa, he's seriously busy. He doesn't just want hugs and kisses, and he's not just knocking on the door. He's just like doing laps around me. And that just means so much more now, just taking that time to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a day to recognize what God's doing in my life. And it changes the way you pray. It changes the way you feel about people. Because then you realize that people that are cranky, they got some issues going on too, and it's not like you've never been cranky. But I'm trying not to look at anybody. Actually, I feel really bad for Pastor Roger and Don. Yeah. I've actually prayed, giving God thanks I'm not either or during this time. That's stressful right now. Where was I going with this? Relationship, sanctification, changing your attitude. But more than that, it's the fact of the relationship. It's one of those relationships where God, he's a jealous God. He doesn't just feel angry when we don't give him attention or jealous, but he loves us so much that he refrains and says, you know what? He might change. I know he's going to change. I'm going to do this so he can change. Okay, he didn't change. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do that. And he's constantly coming at us and just looking for ways to sweet talk us, to bring us back in. Sometimes with some of us, he's nicer than with others. But that's the God we serve. And if it didn't dawn on you that you're in a relationship with him, then this is a good wake-up call to think, hey, how can I improve this relationship on my side? What am I not doing? What am I doing wrong, or what do I need to stop doing? And I just want to leave you guys with that. Thank God for my wife that she's been teaching me a lot of these lessons, because I realized I don't have all the skills I thought I had. And when you get into that kind of a deeper, more intimate relationship that God wants from us, you start learning a lot about what you don't have, and you start learning how to rely on someone else more and more and more and more. To the point now where I sometimes stop trying to remember things. I'm just like, babe, what was that? What was the name of that thing? Or what did I have to do again? Or what am I supposed to be doing right now? But you know what? God will help you out with that. He's got his Holy Spirit that's just there 24/7. He's your counselor. He's your aid. He's your helper that Christ sent for us. And, so just an encouragement, the Ten Commandments. He's clearly jealous for our time, and so much so that he set apart a day every week where he wants us to cease from our work, cease from his work. And another cool way that he actually showed this to me was with the story of Melchizedek. You guys remember when Abraham went out and rescued his nephew Lot, and then he comes over and the king Melchizedek brings wine and bread? You guys remember that story? And then you remember that king of Sodom, the guy that fled, that just got whooped by these other kings. He comes back, and I always thought, man, you really got to be something else. I mean, you're a coward. You ran away. You didn't defend your own people. Now you come over, and the guy that rescued all your people, you're like, hey, keep the money, but give me all the people. And gosh, what a coward. But you know what was interesting? God showed me this. Abraham said, I'm not going to take the money or the people. And in the original Hebrew, when the king of Sodom comes over, he says, take the gold. In the original Hebrew, it says, but take the gold, but give me the souls. And he says, I'm not going to take either the gold or the souls. Just take it all. I want nothing from you, so that nobody says I ever gained anything from you. Even though this guy was clearly on the upper hand. And God was like, hey, you know what? I'm that king. I'm King Melchizedek. I'm bringing you bread and wine for what you're doing in life. I want to give you a better hope. I am the king of the city of rest, Jerusalem. I'm the author of the rest that you're going to have and that you will have in me. And oftentimes I think even as ministers, I've been guilty of this. We think, oh, well, I'm a minister. No, King of Salem, you keep the money, but I'll keep the souls. And we're to keep nothing from him. Just focus on the king's banquet, his bread and his wine, and you'll be good. Dear God, I give you thanks for, I give you thanks just for your relationship that you hold with us, even though we're so short-sighted, even though we're quite dumb or proud or arrogant or idolatrous, Lord, you keep pursuing us, Lord. I want to give you thanks for that, Lord. And I ask that you would open our eyes to what you're doing in our lives, how you're looking to talk to us, how you're looking at building a relationship with us and showing us who you are, Lord. Lord, awaken our spirits to that love that you have for us, that we would also reciprocate and grow in it, Lord, and grow in intimacy with you, Lord, to the point where it's just, we never want to leave your side, Lord, and we're always searching for more of you in your word, through prayer, and even just talking with you, God, and through others, Lord, and showing your love for others, God. Help us fall in love with you, Lord, so we can love everyone else properly. In your precious name, amen.